Question number 12, Fletcher Tabuteau.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. Does he have confidence in the Minister of Finance and the Minister for Economic Development? If so, how?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes, because they've developed policies and initiatives that are supporting one of the stronger growing economies in the developed world, and which have been particularly successful in the regions. And I know that for New Zealand First that's frustrating, because they did a tour of the regions and couldn't find near as many complaints as they liked, and I sympathise with their political difficulty.
About the tour.
Supplementary question, Fletcher Tabuteau.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. What confidence can taxpayers have in his government when Mr Joyce rejected New Zealand First's warning, which I gave last December, over Fuji Xerox, listen up, saying he had no issues with the claim that the member has raised, despite it subsequently blowing up into $500 million worth of fraud, Mr Speaker?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, New Zealand First often warns us of things, and less often than that do they actually happen.
Yeah. Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Fletcher Tabuteau.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. What confidence can anyone have in Mr Bridges, given MB has refused to suspend all of government contracts with Fuji Xerox until the SFO completes its work, despite the SFO completely missing the fact that we all know now to be $500 million worth of fraud?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, if the member is interested in those particular matters, then he should put a question down directly to the Minister. I would not expect either the Minister of Economic Development or Finance to be conducting fraud investigations. It's important that those investigations are carried out by the appropriate authorities.
Supplementary, sir.
Supplementary question, Fletcher Tabuteau.
Thank you. Does this mean, Prime Minister, that the National Party is happy to continue dealing with Fuji Xerox New Zealand, a company of questionable commercial integrity, and its current managing director who designed this disastrous Ponzi scheme in the first place, which forced the Japanese parent company's chairman and directors to resign?
Order. There is no Prime Minister responsible for the National Party. That question is out of order.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
In light of his primary answer, how can he have confidence in a Minister of Finance who has overseen a fall of 1.3% in GDP per hour worked in the last year and GDP per capita falling for the last 2 quarters in a row? And what's the point of economic growth if it can't deliver to New Zealanders a decent health, housing or education system?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, knowing how difficult it is to find a negative number in any of our economic statistics, I'm surprised that member did that much work, that he actually got past page 3 and might have found one.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Damien.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Prime Minister, what effect on regional economic development does he think the discovery of Mycoplasma bovis by his own government department confirmed on Saturday night will have, and if so, what action has he or his ministers taken to inform dairy farmers around New Zealand since that discovery on Saturday night?
Again, there are 2 supplementary questions there. The Prime Minister can address one.
Well, Mr Speaker, unlike the other questions, that is a serious question that deserves to be treated seriously. The Minister for Primary Industries and MPI certainly take the discovery of the disease seriously. It hasn't been in New Zealand before, and they are taking concerted action to ensure that they can both minimise the spread, investigate what other measures can be taken to contain it, and inform farmers of both the need to look out for it and the risks of it spreading further.
And that concludes questions for oral answer. I have received a letter from